Okay, so we're live. Uh, let's wait for some time. Good evening, guys. We'll wait for say around 2 minutes. Let others join, and then we will start today's CISSP expert session. Right. Good evening, everyone. Uh, we'll just take 2 minutes. Let others join, and then we will start today's CISSP expert session. Today, my aim is to, go and deep dive into how domain correlations happen and what to expect in CISSP and how to prepare for it effectively within, say, around 90 to 100 days. Now, what has happened over a period of time, especially in the last 5 months, I started something unique that, can this exam be passed within 2 to 3 months of preparation? And we had a lot of success. To be frank, you can see our posts. We had a lot of success. So I would like to share that as part of the ISA to, protect the profession and take it forward. And I would like to share some tips as to how to create a correlation between different domains of CISSP and prepare for it, because initially it looks like a very heavy load, but if you understand the concepts, it becomes an easy ride. We will wait for 1 more minute. Let others join, and so that they don't miss it, and then we will start the session. Just give us like 2 minutes. Right. We'll start the session now. People will keep joining, and we will keep. If they lag behind, they can, you know, go and check out the recordings. We'll not delay the session. So today's aim is to, do a blackboarding session and make you all understand how inter-domain correlation happens in CISSP, how to prepare for this very, very important and a difficult exam, and give you insight into how to think about, you know, when you are trying to attempt CISSP, how to think about how to plan yourself mentally and physically, right? That's my main aim. Today, I'm not going to do any question answer sessions or anything. I'll show you domain correlations, how it happens, how you should relate different domains once you are preparing for CISSP, right? And that's why today's session is become a CISSP expert, right? So my aim is to make you pass CISSP in first attempt and roughly in a preparation period of around 90 to 100 days, right? That is my aim. And why we say so, because the moment you make it a long drawn affair, the moment you make it more than 90 days affair, what starts, affecting is your morale. Okay. You start losing your morale. And the second thing that you lose is family time. Okay. Because this exam requires a lot of commitment, and your family has to sacrifice a lot of it to set you uh, free for preparing for this exam. And that's why it's very important to pass this exam in first attempt. Otherwise, it's a great demoralizing factor for people who are not able to pass it in first attempt, right? Because it involves a lot of preparation, right? So once we look at the CISSP certification exam, I'll come to the minor details later. You should understand the 8 domains. What are these 8 domains? How do they relate to each other? Okay, that's very important. Okay, once I was preparing for CISSP, there was not enough resources available. There's no one to explain. I started preparing on my own. For those who have just joined, a small introduction. I'm Colonel Shubhajit Na. I'm the founder of Protect Academy. My aim is to take CISSP to each and every IT and information security professionals, skill set. Why? Because it's a very, very beautiful certification once you prepare for it. So Right now, I'm on a slide which shows with these are the domains. Now, when you're preparing for CISSP exam, you have to correlate the domains. It's very important that you are able to find out what is the relation between each domains. And that's why you need to understand the application of these domains. Okay. Now, the first domain is security and risk management. It's the most important domain, right? What happens is this domain has its shadow over all the other domains. So whenever you take decisions, okay, whenever you take decisions, the most important part of domain one is whenever you take decisions, they have to be based on domain one. That is based on risk management, right? You have to take decisions based on risk. Now, why? Why you have to take decision based on risk? Because what happens is if you look at the information and cybersecurity space, there are so many threats, there are so many vulnerabilities. Can you manage all the threats and vulnerabilities at the same time? 100% you cannot. And that's why you have to find out which risks are more, the likelihood of which risks are more and likelihood of which risks are less. So the moment you know the probability factor as to which risks are higher and which risks are lower, right? You will be able to take a better decision. And domain one major part is that, right? And once you take the risk, right, you understand risk management, then it flows into other domain. Okay. So now I come to what domain one is all about and how to tackle this domain, right? So, so domain one is basically security and risk management, right? Now, what does these have? This chapter has, this part of the domain has five major aspects. Okay, first is the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. This becomes the pillar of the information security, right? You have to understand how this applies to information assets. Okay, and from this flows out the IAAA concept. That is identification, authentication, authorization, accountability, and auditing. So once this comes out, what you come to know is about what is a subject and what is an object. And frankly telling, from this works out the access control. Now, if you relate it this way, then it becomes the life becomes much more easy. So once you understand this, then comes the next part, which is security concepts. Now you will say, I remember everything. Yeah, I've been teaching for last almost 3 years. I almost have everything on my tips. Now, security concepts is where you understand what is, security boundaries, how to understand what is the security boundary, what are the security frameworks, right? What is an information system, okay? And what are major threats and vulnerabilities? Right? To understand that. And the next concept comes is how to manage security. Now, to manage security, the first part is you need to understand what is governance. Okay. And governance means that there is a top-down approach. That means the upper management of any organization takes deep interest in how to manage security of an organization. It involves having policies in place. It involves roles and responsibilities. It involves risk management. It involves people security. Why? Because it's still said that human beings are the most weakest link in the security. And that's why you have to ensure that, the people risk is taken out, right? Now, the people risk, when it's taken out, it reduces a lot of, vulnerabilities in your organization. And what finally matters is you should have a business continuity plan in place. Now, the business continuity plan ensures that your business is always continuous, it is always working as it is supposed to be, it is completely available in times of disasters. But it doesn't talk about disaster recovery. You have to understand two very clear points. BCP is more of planning, business continuity planning, and planning is the responsibility of the upper management, right? Whereas disaster recovery is more of action oriented. That means what are the drills, what are the procedures you're going to follow if a disaster strikes. So that's why you need to understand that business continuity planning forms part of governance and not disaster recovery. Now, this is something which is very important. Most of the time, people use business continuity along with DR. Of course, it goes hand in hand, but as part of the governance framework, BCP forms part of your business continuity plan. Okay. And finally, the last important part is you need to understand various laws, regulations, and standards. Standard, basically industry standards. Right. So now if you look at this slide covers complete domain one. Right. So you have to understand that what is governance, how to manage security, what are the different components of governance and security management. Now, once you do that, there are some major outcomes. And what are those? The major outcome is you understand how to apply CIA, okay, how to do risk management. So now this leads you to taking risk-based decisions. Now this is the main part because this lets you speak the business language. You talk in terms of business language and you do not talk technical once you are dealing with your, top management. Top management is not worried about the minor details. You learn how to speak the business language. Okay. The next thing that you come is your, people aspects. What are the different HR processes and social engineering, and how motivation and training can solve a lot of your HR issues. Also, policy level decisions like acceptable use policy, NDA is also covered in this part. Okay. Then you also have something called third party governance. That means how do you have governance oversight over third parties? What are the basic various aspects? You can have document reviews, okay, you can have NDAs, you can have SLAs, you can have contracts, right? So these are the outcomes. So now if you do this kind of a brain mapping, your domain one becomes very, very simple. Okay. So once you have done your risk management, now the next part is, how to, you've done your risk management, you've understood what are the threats. Sorry. Okay. You've done your risk management, right? You've understood what are your threats and vulnerabilities. Okay. You've come to know about that. Okay. And next thing what you do is you implement controls. Okay. So now you have taken preventive action. So good, you have prevented, you've taken a defensive action, you've taken a preventive action, which will keep your business safe, right? Now, you need to also plan for making the business continuous. So the business continuity planning is one of the major steps of security governance and management. Remember that. Even in your professional life, if you are in a GRC role, then you always have to keep BCP in mind and how to plan for business continuity when some very, very high level disasters can strike, like something like COVID. When COVID came, it was a very, very major disaster for which many of the organizations were not prepared, right? So once you've done this, you've understood your risk and how to continue your business. Okay. Now, then comes domain 2, right? Asset security. Now, what are you protecting? What are you protecting? What you did risk assessment for? What you did risk assessment for the assets which you hold. What assets? The information assets, right? And today, information is in the form of data. And if you look at data, you know, data becomes information once you apply what is called intelligence. Otherwise, it's just dumb data, right? And to do this intelligence, you require people, you require processes, and you require technologies, right? So that means your data becomes your, major focus point, and the assets which handle these data. So now in your risk assessment, you understood which assets were the most threatened, which had the maximum vulnerabilities, which are the most threatened, and now you're trying to protect those assets, and that becomes part of your asset security. And mainly, the asset security focuses on ownership of assets and safeguarding data, right? So now you look at the flow. In the domain 1, you understood what you need to protect, and in domain 2, asset security, how you have to protect your assets, right? Now, to protect anything, you need to engineer technology, because ultimately you are protecting technology assets, right? And how to implement architectures and engineer solutions for major technologies. Now, major technologies: computing system, operating systems, access control systems, embedded systems, right? Uh, ICS, industrial control systems, that is SCADA systems, right? Wireless systems, high performance computing systems, cloud systems, right? We see how security architecture and engineering efforts are required in securing the complete technology stack which is available to us. And that's what domain 3. Now, domain 3 becomes one of the most difficult part for most of the CISSP aspects. Now, let me tell you, though it might sound a little difficult initially, but it's a very, very interesting domain. And once you cover it once or twice, it becomes very easy. Now, once you are attempting domain 3, remember just 3 things. Okay, 3 things. You remember subject, you remember object. Object is a passive entity, subject is an active entity. Whenever you are preparing for domain 3, remember this particular concept. And in between sits the access control. And whatever concepts are taught in security engineering domain, all those apply here. That is Biba model, Bella Padula model, Brewer and Ash model. Okay, all these models are there to engineer or hypothetically develop the access controls which you have. Okay, so remember this part when you are preparing for domain 3. So domain 3 is how are you going to engineer solutions, architect solutions for the asset which you evaluated in domain 2, right? Now, once you've done this, we came to the part wherein we analyze that data is today the fulcrum for all information and cybersecurity threats, right? Everybody wants your data. So that means data has 3 states. That is, data is in rest, that is in somewhere, it is in some storage. You need to secure it. Data is in motion. You need to secure it. And data is in use. You need to secure it. How do you secure it? In Motion is the aim of domain 4, which is communication and network security. Now, in domain 4, what we do is first we understand the basics of OSI. We need to understand TCP/IP. Now, TCP/IP is something that it's very fundamental for all security professionals that you have to understand. And from this follows out the protocols and how these protocols provide you vulnerability. So you understand that. And then how to secure. Okay. And then you speak about various modes of communication. Okay. So this basically covers the entire communication and network security aspects, right? So you've seen data in REST, which was also covered in domain 2, but data in motion is covered in domain 4. Now, data in use is something probably which is still debated as to how to protect it. So there are many ways to protect data in use, and that is also forms part of security architecture and engineering. Now, we talked about in domain 3, we talked about securities majorly you will find is an access problem. Okay, security is an access problem. Object is supposed to be accessed by the subject, and the access control system is supposed to allow or disallow. It either allows or disallows, right? So it either allows or it disallows. So now if you have to do that, one of the major important part of security operations, security understanding of the security domain becomes identity and access. So identity of whom? Identity will always be of the subject. Why? Because object is dumb. Object is passive. Right? So you always try to identify the subject. And once you've identified the subject, you need to authenticate. Means the subject has to verify that it is he who wants to access the object. And once he is authenticated successfully, he is authorized the access to the object. And whether this IAA is working perfectly fine, you need to keep auditing it so that you can establish accountability. And this is what identity and access management is all about. How to build, what are the different kind of identity and access management systems. Right. This is the core part of domain 5. Now, once you've done your risk management, you've secured your data, you have architected your entire environment, you have secured your networks, and you have identity and access management in place. Now, what's remaining is that is everything working perfectly? And to check whether everything is working perfectly, you need to test your systems and you need to audit that everything is going fine. So domain 6 now tells you the concepts behind how to test your systems. What are the different aspects of change management, okay, configuration management, vulnerability analysis, okay, software testing, okay, and auditing, of course, internal, external, and third party, right? So this is what domain 6. Now, let me tell you, the moment you have finished your domain 4, your easy ride starts. So up to domain 4, the ride for CISSP is difficult. After domain 4, it's a slide downwards. Okay, these are very, very small domains. The majority, I'll say 70% of the task finishes the moment you have finished domain 4. So domain 6, a very easy domain. Domain 5, a very easy domain. What next comes is, now you've tested, everything is in place. Now you need to operate your security. So this becomes your security operations. Now, many people feel that security operations is all about SOC. Okay, no. Security operations is whatever principles you've learned from domain 1 till domain 5. How do you run that entire 6 domains? That is your risk management operating properly? Is your asset security working properly? Is your architecture good enough? Is your identity access management working properly? And your communication and network security, is it in place? And to achieve this, what you require is observability, which of course is provided by logs and SIEM maybe, right? And if you have observability, you can have detection. You can have detection of what? Threats. And once you've detected threats, then you might have incidents. And if you have incidents, then you have to have incident response. And this is all about security operations. Also in security operations is disaster recovery, because disaster recovery becomes part of security operations, because disaster recovery is all about step-by-step handling of disasters. Okay, and that's why disaster recovery becomes part of domain 7. And finally, today the world is incomplete without hardware and software. Okay, now hardware is mostly covered in domain 3. Software is something which is riding the hardware, and together they form a system. And that's why domain 8 focuses on software development security, how to have secure software development. Now, it doesn't require any coding. It needs a management purview of how to manage software development. And that's where it comes into software development methodologies. What are the common vulnerabilities and how to manage these. We talk a little bit about web applications. We talk a little bit about databases, and we talk a little bit, very school level, programs. Not nobody discusses programs. What is a high level language? What is a low level language? What is a machine language? That kind of, I think we studied that in 10th grade. That kind of, requirement. So now, if you look at the complete CISSP uh, 8 domains, what happens is whenever you have to take decisions, it has to be based on domain 1. Okay, you'll find certain questions which will try to test inter-domain knowledge. So that means it will test you as to, there might be certain questions which will test you. Just a second. Okay, so they will test you. The first part of the question will test you about software development security. Okay, but the second part will be based on risk management. That means whether the decision to bring in the software development security is risk based or not. And that is where your core application has to come in. And that is why CISSP is a conceptual exam, and you do not need any kind of cramming. Cramming is a complete no-no for CISSP. Understanding and application is what is required. And that's why this exam cannot be cleared without hard work. This one certification, I can vouch for it. There are no dumps available. Anybody tells you there are dumps, sorry, no, it doesn't have dumps. This exam focuses on catching your weakness. So you have to clear all your weak areas. Okay, how to clear that? I'll explain. Right. So you have to catch. It will try to catch your weak areas, and once the exam engine is satisfied that okay, the examinee doesn't have weak areas, it will move on to trying to test your next weakness. So that's why equal importance to all domains, no matter what. No matter what is the weightage, it doesn't matter. Equal importance to all domains. Remember this. Right? No cramming required. Hard work, definitely. No dumps available. Catching weakness, equal importance to all domains. These are the key mantras for this exam. Right? So a lot of A lot of my students keep asking, sir, what is this exam engine all about? So the exam engine, whatever rumors we've heard, okay, it's based on a combination of around 10,000 questions. Okay, and it's a pseudo AI engine, okay, which tries to throw you certain questions, catches your weakness, and then increases the difficulty. Okay, so initial 10 questions may be very easy. Next set of 70 questions is something which you will not know from where the questions are coming. Okay, it's a language exam. You have to have decent understanding of English. Okay, and conceptually you have to be very clear. Okay, how to do that? We'll come to know. And 20% God knows. Okay, from where do they generate such questions? Okay, there are a lot of test questions in those exams. God only knows from how do they make those questions. Okay, I was also zapped at certain questions which were thrown at me. Right. So let me give you a very, very simple fundamental of preparing for this exam. Now, there are a lot of books available, but no matter what, Cybex 10th edition is a must. It is a must. Anybody tells you go and read Destination Certification or some other book, fine, you can read that, but you cannot escape Cybex. Okay, if you have more than 5 years of experience, okay, and you have worked in IT or information security, you will not have difficulty in understanding this book. Let me tell you, people who are from other domains who have never worked in IT or they have very partial, exposure to IT roles might find it difficult and they might require an easier language. But CISSP is a professional exam. It's meant for professionals. So you have to understand the Cybex language to go. And once you go to the exam, the nearest language which matches the, any textbook is only Cybex, right? Now you can have two ways of studying. You can have self-study mode and you can have mentor mode. So I did self-study. It took me almost 3 months to prepare, 3 to 4 months to prepare. But when I was preparing for the exam, I had more than 20 years of experience. Okay, I've worked extensively on networks, I've worked extensively on cloud data storage, I've worked extensively on software development. So, I had that experience with me. I have worked by hand. So that gave me a easier understanding, I must say. But somebody who's 5 years, 8 years, 10 years experience may not have the complete domain experience of everything. So that's where you probably require a mentor-based study. Right? There are a lot of mentors available. You're free to choose anyone. You have to clarify your doubts. You may not understand everything, right? And it is important that you deep dive into certain sessions. Okay? You can today there is Chat GPT available. There is YouTube. Enough content is available, right? So that is a must. Multiple revisions. The content of this is scientific. Okay, the first revision is what makes you aware. The second revision is what makes you understand, and the third revision makes you remember. I said remember, not memorize. Remember means when the question comes in front of you, you will remember, okay, this is part of that, what I studied, right? So that's why remembering, not memorizing, not rote memory. Okay, leave that. And there are three practice question sets which you should do. One is Cybex third edition. We are expecting fourth edition to come out. It's not come out yet. Cybex third edition practice test, Boson practice test. Boson is the only exam test I will say which is 0.0001% near the actual exam. Some questions might have that kind of a language. Okay, and finally is the Learns app, which is the ISC2's official app. Good questions, but a lot of overlap between Cybex third edition and Learns app official question. Right? What is the time required? Right? So you approximately require 90 to 100 days, right? First 30 days you require for first revision. Next 40 days you require for second revision plus questions. And third revision you require around 20 days, which is your third revision plus questions. Now, one part is very important, which I must tell you, that once you're attempting the questions, do not repeat. A question once done should not be repeated. If you've gone wrong in a question, just see why you went wrong. Because once you do that, this gives you out your weakness. Otherwise, you will have a habit of memorizing answers, and that will not help you in the exam. Let me tell you very clearly. Because you will remember the answer and you will not try to apply yourself in the exams. And CISSP is an application exam. It's not a memorization exam. Okay. So this is the concept which you should follow. Now, few Guru Mantras, learn to clear concepts. Your concept should be amply clear. No cramming required. This exam doesn't require any cramming, but it requires repetitive preparation. Why? So that once you see the content in front of you, you remember, okay, this is question is from PCI-DSS, or this question is from this particular model. Okay. Relate inter-domain concepts. There will be questions mixed from 2 or 3 different domains, and to try to test all your 3 domains. Okay. So that will be the type of questions you can face. Okay. Now, once you practice questions, this is only to identify your weak areas. Once you attempt the questions and you go wrong in a particular questions, you only try to find out that this is your weakness and nothing else. Okay. Once you're confident, generally after second revision, you can book the exam. If you're consistently scoring 80 to 90%, between 75 to 90% in all those practice tests, you can book the exam. And it's not the end of life, guys. All you need to prepare is around 2 to 3 hours daily, and weekends around 4 to 6 hours. Okay. This much preparation for next 90 days will make you pass. So it's all about habit forming. If you can form the habit, if you are consistent, okay, because for a working professional, these are the two very, very impossible things. And actually, CISSP exam is testing that, whether you can form a habit of studying daily and are you consistent. Otherwise, it will become a very, very long drawn affair, right? Right. I've come to the end of my today's session. Today, I wanted you to give a different perspective altogether for the exam, and I wanted to do a more blackboarding, and not show slides. This is my teaching style. I love explaining things by drawing. Right. If you have any questions, please shoot. We can take your questions. No questions? You can just type it out. We can see I have the live chat available.
Hi, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, so by the time people might be typing their questions, I get a lot of, I get FAQs basically. So one question I
Mhm.
get frequently is that, is the time frame that we choose, like 10 classes, 10 to 13 classes for CISSP covering all the 8 domains, are those enough
So
during
see,
those exams?
once if you look at the training, we cover around 40 to 42 hours in around 10 sessions in my sessions, and that's more than enough. But the overall preparation cycle is almost 90 to 100 days. So no matter how much you take, whether mentoring online or you take live mentoring or you take recorded sessions from other people, you have to devote your own time. There's no escape. Where we come in as mentors is we correlate the domains. We make your journey more easier uh, from this very difficult. It's difficult to understand all the topics if you don't have a mentor with you. Okay? If you are if you do not have the adequate experience in all the domains. So it's very difficult. At times, it becomes very difficult to visualize, uh, certain domains which you have not worked in, because most of the IT professionals may not have software development background. Okay, so it becomes very difficult. They may not have dealt with identity and access management. They might have been in GRC roles. So at times it becomes very difficult to go through it alone, and that's where around 40 to 42 hours is what generally is required, roughly. That is a distribution which has, over a period of time, I've seen that goes well once you have a mentor based session.
Right, right. And then the self study is obviously very important.
Yeah, this exam cannot be cleared without self study. It's just impossible. If somebody says just watch my video and go and attempt this exam, that person is bluffing. Not possible. This exam is all about hard work, and that's why this exam is so respected. Because once I look at a CISSP, I know this guy has slogged. This guy has performed very hard to clear this exam.
Right, sir, right.
Okay, so I'm starting my next batch in. I do a batch every month, once every month. That's on weekends only. This batch is starting on 7th of July with a preliminary session of on 30th of June. Uh, this will be around a 40 hours, 40 42 hours session, and I do deep diving. I do concept clearing. I do not focus on question answers only. Question answer is just one set of it. My aim is to clear out fundamental concepts when I explain all the concepts. So it's my aim, and that's why probably students who have you know passed with me have attributed their success to me, because of course I've had experience with all the domains. That's how I'm able to correlate. What is the cost of the training? Within the cost of the training, you can get in touch with Ghazal, and she will post you the details, and you can get to know from that. We are the cheapest. Let me tell you, if you go for CISSP training, I can say that yes, we are the most economical and most cheapest. Uh, because I've tried to keep it as low priced as possible so that most of the people can afford it. Okay, and my aim is to give quality training. That's my complete aim. I love training, and this gives ample opportunity for me to impart the knowledge which I have gained over a period of time. Right. If there are no more questions, Ghazal can send the link of our registration. You can register for our course, and if you would like to go with our course, that's okay. Okay. Even if you won't like to go with our course, doesn't matter. Please be there on our channel. We have some very interesting content which we keep floating. One thing which I would like to tell you, CISSP today holds a very big importance in both IT and information security careers, because the way it packs the complete knowledge base, I have not seen it in any other certification, right? So it's very important for someone who is in the mid segment, 7 to 8 years, 10 to 11 years, 15 to 18 years. So once I, quit army, I did CISSP. I forced a lot of armed forces professionals to, once they were moving out, to do CISSP, and they have all landed up in very good positions, and that's what propelled me to say that okay, fine, if that is the outcome of CISSP, why not have a training session and give my best to the community. So that's all, people. Thank you so much for joining. I saw a lot of people who have joined this webinar, and I'm so thankful to you all. And let's hope, whether you self-prepare or you take a mentor's help, no matter what, this exam requires a lot of deliberation and effort. Okay. Thank you very much, and Jai Hind, and see you next time.